Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, Hello Girl DIY. Today I'm going to be doing 6 Dollar Tree Christmas DIYs that are perfect for Christmas or like for the winter season. So let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so for the first DIY, I'm going to be actually kind of recreating this little wall art piece I made last year. So I'm going to be popping off that little 6x8 stretch canvas, that little one covering like the white fabric. I'm going to be reusing that and then just using another 8x10 canvas. You can use any size of canvas that you like. You could do 11x14, you could do 6x8, 4x6, 8x10, really whatever you want. Although I would recommend doing a canvas panel and then another stretched canvas with it, just so there's a little bit of different varying thicknesses. But since I only had stretch, that's what I'm going to be using, and it ended up turning out really nice anyways. And you can cover these canvases and whatever you like. You can just paint them or spray paint them. You can do fabric, paper, felt, really anything. I'm just going to be using this fabric that I had on hand. And after removing all of the packaging on the canvas, I'm just going to be covering it with the fabric, kind of trace around it, cut it out, and then hot glue it on the back. Alright guys, I just want to jump in here real quick and say I'm so sorry. For some reason I did not get the footage of me cutting this out and hot gluing it to the back. It was really easy. I just flipped the canvas to the back and put it onto the back of my fabric, and then I traced like roughly an inch around the edge of it, cut it out, and then hot glued it. It was really easy. Just make sure that you're pulling the fabric taut against the surface of the canvas so that there aren't any wrinkles, and just make sure that it's nice and secure. Tack it onto the back of the canvas. And so for this little strip of fabric on there, I just used one of those super soft microfiber cloths you can get from the auto section, Dollar Tree, and I just cut a little strip of it. You can do whatever size you like. You can decorate it with anything you like. But I decided on this since it matched that little 6x8 canvas that I'm reusing. And so after hot gluing that down, I'm going to be taking some of these like chenille trims or whatever you want to call them from Dollar Tree, and I just took the dark green one, and I'm going to be hot gluing 2 strips of that onto my canvas. And then in order to help the green chenille trimming to stay where I wanted it to, I just tacked it down with a little bit of hot glue, and I'm going to be doing this on both sides. I don't wanna be let down each road to find. I just wish I'd seen the price tag for my heart breaking. Was it worth all that waiting when I always knew just how I felt? And this is the final product, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So for the second DIY, I'm going to be using this wooden snowman from Dollar Tree, and I decided to leave like the snow part of it natural wood, and then I took a piece of copy paper and rubbed it over the raised piece of wood, which they use as a scarf, because I knew I wanted to do something different on those. So then I cut it out, and then I have this little paper template, and so I'm going to be tracing that out onto a piece of scrapbooking paper I got from Hobby Lobby. You were different from the rest, 'cause you didn't hide imperfections from the edge. Yeah, bet you don't even love you half as much as I want to. You're right, yeah. I'm looking back at the past and I feel regret. Don't wanna walk on the block, say you're we met. Try to forget that you went on with someone else instead. Maybe it's better if I never love. And the next step is to just cut it out. And I just want to show you guys real quick that if you are using the template to trace on top of the pattern side of the piece of paper, you can just leave it the way you want it to be on your actual snowman. But if you're on the back, you want to flip the template around or mirror it so that when you're done cutting it out, you'll be able to flip it back over and everything will line up. And since I purposely cut the scarf a little bit big around the template, I'm just using an X-Acto knife to trim it down and make sure that it fits nicely. So once I'm done trimming it, I'm just going to be hot gluing it down. And then for the edges, since I wanted it to look a little more smooth and it was really hard to make, to cut it exactly, like a nice smooth edge, what I ended up doing was doing as much as I could with my X-Acto knife. And then I actually just put a little bit of hot glue kind of under the little flap or edge of paper, and then I just folded it and tucked it under and made sure it was secure. And then when I realized I wanted to paint the very top part of the snowman's hat, I went ahead and used some of this plastic wood and a popsicle stick to just go ahead and fill that hole, or at least try. So after that, I just put the snowman down and started filling it from the top so that it can, well, go out the back. And then moving on, for the brim, I guess you could say, of the hat, I'm just doing the same process using a piece of like copy or printer paper, rubbing it over the raised piece of wood, creating a template, cutting it out, tracing it onto the back of some scrapbooking paper to match the scarf, again mirroring the image. And then I'm just cutting it out, and as you can see, the ends I kind of made really weird. I purposely cut the ends really big because I wanted to make sure that they fit really nicely, because it was kind of hard to like trace and get the right kind of like the right curve and angle. So that's why I'm cutting them extra big, and then I'll be tacking it down with hot glue. And then the next thing I'll be doing is just using a little piece of sandpaper and rubbing it along the edges of like the scarf and then the little brim of the hat, and then I'll also be sanding down the hole that I filled. And then to paint the actual top of the hat part, I'm going to be using 3 different colors. These are all apple barrel acrylic paints, and you can get them from Walmart. I think they're like 50 cents. I'm going to be using the colors Jet Black, Christmas Green, and Kelly Green. And it does look pretty green here. I believe I added in a little more black afterward, just because I went a little bit darker. And then it, of course, also dries a little darker. And then once I'm done painting that, I wanted to paint the nose. So I started out with this orange, and then I decided to paint over it with gold because I felt like the gold would go better. And then after doing that, I'm going to be putting a pom-pom on this hat. Now, if you don't have a pom-pom maker, that's totally fine. Dollar Tree sells these little mini snowballs, and you can totally put one on there. They're like the exact same size, but I'm going to be making a pom-pom using my little pom-pom maker and then some chenille yarn from Dollar Tree. And then I just hot glued it down, and that was it. So for the third DIY, I had this old garland from last year that I kind of wanted to reuse and repurpose. So I wanted to keep the beads, the natural ones and the red ones, but I wanted to update what like I put in between the 2 red beads. So I just pulled off the snowflakes, and then once I did that, I'm going to be using some color your own ornaments from Dollar Tree. They have a bunch of different types. I'm going to be using the bells. I'm going to be using 5 of them. 5 come in a pack, but as you can see here, like I said, there's many other options. And you can also do like normal ornaments that you can buy like from Dollar Tree. They have a bunch of different types, and I'm going to be using some of Waverly's antique wax. So I just paint over these. I think I did 3, and then I wiped the excess wax off with a paper towel, and then I did the other 2. And I did do some of the edges just so that it looked nice and covered and stained with the wax. So once they've had a chance to dry, it was time to go ahead and glue them in place. I'm going to be gluing them in between the two red beads. And since these are a little smaller, I guess you could say, like width-wise, I'm going to be I'm going to have a little bit of excess, and so I'm going to push any extra space there is, like on the sides of the bead, down to one end, and then when I'm done, I'm going to cut off the tassel at one end and then just retie the tassel, and that'll use up any excess twine. So if you are doing this on an old, or you're just making this garland over, just know that you can always push it to an end and then trim it and then like retie it. So anyways, I'm gluing down my twine on the back of my ornaments and then putting a little extra on top to make sure that it's secure. And then I'll use a popsicle stick to just kind of rub over the glue and make sure that the twine has had good contact onto the back of my bell. So here, this is what I'm talking about. At the end, I just kind of cut off the tassel and then I wrapped the extra twine around the tassel, and then I'll just be reattaching it. So it's really easy, really quick to do, and it didn't take me long at all. So now I'm going to be decorating as well as covering up those holes at the top of my bell. I decided not to string the twine of my garland through the bell for obvious reasons, since I didn't want to take all the beads off. But I also decided that these bells like needed some extra pizzazz, for lack of a better word. So I have these picks from Hobby Lobby, and I just cut down some leaves, and I took and I cut up some of the smaller ones, like the smallest leaves. I glued those down, and then I also glued down a little berry, and yeah, that was all, and this is how it turned out. So starting out onto the third DIY, I'm going to take this Dollar Tree wooden tree, another one of their wooden shapes. I'm going to Mod Podge the entire top of the tree, and then take a piece of Dollar Tree tissue paper and cover it on top. Now this is Dollar Tree tissue paper. It came like a multi-pack with some other colors and styles. And if you don't want to do tissue paper, you can do stuff like just paint it, or you can do felt, fabric, wrapping paper, normal scrapbooking paper, anything you like. But I really like the like wrinkly texture the tissue paper gave when it's try to like stick to the Mod Podge. But if you want it to be perfectly smooth, I would not recommend doing tissue paper. And then I also liked how the natural color of the wood kind of showed through. I really like that as well. And then once I've got the top smoothed down, I'm going to flip it over. And I actually cut little like slits where the like tree branches, or whatever you want to call them, stuck out, so that I could just fold the tissue paper onto the back of the tree, and then like I Mod Podge underneath it and on top of it, and this is not going anywhere. So next I'm going to be decorating my tree. So for decorating it, do whatever you want. You can draw something on it, you can put stickers on it, you can put pieces of greenery on it, bells, bows, anything you like. I'm using some of these like crystallized kind of glittery berries that I got from a pick. I just cut them off using a pair of wire cutters. You can also get berries from Dollar Tree and other things to decorate your tree with, but I think I got this particular pick from Hobby Lobby. And then once I'm done gluing down my berries, I'm going to take some of these really cute mini like natural wood snowflakes that I also got from Hobby Lobby. But like I said, there are tons of cute like little snowflake ornaments and other things you can get from Dollar Tree. And I just laid these out on my tree like in a pattern that I liked. It wasn't really a pattern, I just tried to make them look natural, like they were falling down. And then once I had them laid out where I wanted them, I just used a little bit of glue on the back and tacked them all down.
Oh, Christmas, it's what I'm starting to hear.
And then this is the end result, and I think it looks super cute hanging up on my wall.
Oh, Christmas, we'll burn the
so now it's time to make over another DIY I made a little while ago, and I just wanted to kind of make it a little different for Christmas. So I'm taking one of Dollar Tree's metal words, and I spray painted it bright red with just some spray paint. I find spray paint is a lot nicer and sticks a lot better than just like painting with a paintbrush. But this is what the sign would look like if you just bought it from Dollar Tree. And I really love these signs because they're so easy to DIY with. Because all you have to do is just pop out the back, and then you can do anything to it. And you can also paint the frame, but I really love the color of the frame, and I also love the bead hanger that's already there. So anyways, I'm going to be taking this piece of scrapbooking paper from Hobby Lobby, and then I just put the backing onto the back of the scrapbooking paper and traced around it, and then I'm going to cut out that square.
Love each other. Everyone out there deserves a little bit of love, even when it's not always clear. Now's the time to see the good and try to.
And then the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and hot glue my piece of paper onto the backing.
Oh, Christmas, we'll take that plain old green tree, color it beautifully like a makeover. Oh, Christmas, the word that's out on the street is that the season's complete when hearts are open. Everyone out there deserves.
I did go ahead and do a little bit of trimming. You don't really have to do this because unless there's like a ton of paper hanging over the edge, it'll fit fine when it's in the frame. But I said to make it look cleaner, and then I'm going to pop the backing back into the actual frame because when I hot glued down my drawing board, I want to make sure everything's nice and centered. And then that was it for a super easy, super simple, and I think super cute design. And this is what it looks like when it's all done, and I just put it on a little shelf with a couple other little Christmas things. I think it looks super nice. So now we're on to the final DIY. I'm going to be taking another one of Dollar Tree shapes. This is the Gingerbread Man, and I think it's so cute. And I just removed the hanger, and then I'm going to be covering the entire thing with some of this antique wax, which I get from Waverly, which you can get at Walmart. And then I just wiped off all the excess with some paper towels. So the decorating of this gingerbread man is so customizable. I went ahead and used some crimson and then some white Waverly chalk paint, which is again from Walmart, and went ahead and painted the trimmings and the bows. But do whatever you want. You could paint the buttons different colors or glue on real buttons or really anything you like. And you don't have to use wax on this. You could paint it, spray paint it, leave it natural, anything you like.